Brought to you by Penguin.
The Genius of Trees, written and read by me, Harriet Rix. Introduction. There is a power that has been since all eternity, and that force and potentiality is viriditas, the greening. Hildegard of Bingen. I've never been good at saying no. As a result, I found myself in Iraq for the first time in June 2014, staying with Assyrian friends in the town of Ahmedi, an ancient and magnificent walled town on a mesa, a flat-topped hill bounded by steep escarpments, just south of the mountains dividing Iraq and Turkey. It was a feast day to celebrate Noah landing the ark safely on a mountaintop, so the whole extended family came together to eat pacha, a sort of Assyrian haggis, uncomfortably and very obviously stomach. The talk was troubled. ISIS was entering Mosul, only 80 kilometers away, but just as we started to eat, a breath of jollity arrived, the son of the house who had been unsuccessfully hunting wild boar. There are lots of them in the mountains, he said. They eat the acorns. I was naively amazed. I had never really thought about trees in connection with Iraq. That evening, we wandered through the oak trees below the escarpment. There seemed to be many different species, and different combinations of leaf shape and bark texture, branch angle, and acorn size. One big tree had a thick, hollow trunk, charred inside but still living, with long, smooth, dark green leaves, and covered in dark brown, spherical oak galls. These, my host told me, were the reason Ahmedi had been rich in the 12th century. The galls contained chemicals, tannins, that the tree used to defend itself against insects, but which humans harvested as the key ingredient in early ink. Ahmedi was a place of scholarship, and had also had one of the most famous libraries in the region. My host was sparing my feelings. He did not mention that it had been destroyed in wanton violence by British troops in 1919. Another tree, short and with many stems because it had been coppiced, had small, spiky, silvery green leaves covered with down. Another, the trunk draped over a large stone as if there was no need for earth, had enormous, sharply serrated leaves and bunches of Velcro-like hooks hanging down. In the autumn, I was told, they would develop into enormous acorns that humans would eat. All very different from the European oaks I had grown up with in Devon. But they made me feel at home. When I got back to England, I went to stay with my dendrologist grandmother and was put firmly in my place. Not only did she know of people eating acorns in the US and Greece, but she had done it herself in the war and found them not bad, she said, just rather bitter, those tannins again. She was interested to hear about the trees I'd seen. Oak species vary considerably, she explained, and have been growing back into their old haunts since being driven into retreat by the last ice age. Oak trees now stretched almost continuously right around the globe, she went on, in a belt of interrelated species. They dominated forests from North America to the Zagros Mountains in Iraq, and the ones I'd seen were probably trying out the best leaf shapes for the areas they hadn't moved back to so far. So far? She said it as though more than 12,000 years wasn't long at all. When modern humans evolved about 40,000 years ago, there were an estimated 6 trillion trees on the planet. By the time we appeared on the scene, trees had already altered the planet's air, changed the flow of water, used fire as a tool, and built relationships with the plants and animals around them. For almost 400 million years, trees have been some of the largest organisms on dry land, physically blocking airflows with their branches, channeling water flows with their roots.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?